Good morning. Today we are going to go through the block instructions of how to make the Radiate quilt pattern. This is the pattern that came in the April Ginger Quilter box. My months get so mixed up all the time. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive in with our pieces. So I'm sorry for the stray threads. I had this sewn up and then I realized it was my last block, so I better unpick it so I could show you guys how to make it. Okay, so we've got our center block here. And this block, let's see, which label is this? This is the A block. Okay, so then we're gonna put our B pieces on the side like this and sew that together. And then for these, you can see the shape here, right? Now, every time I've made a block like this, I want to put background pieces here. I want to put white. And I did make that mistake a few times while sewing this together. But what we want to do is actually put the same color as our outer strips, our C strips there. So that when we put these together, oh, that's a little zoomed in, but you can see where I'm going with this. Okay, there. So when we have these on the outside, they're gonna blend in here. And then you'll put background on these corners. So when you're laying this out, this is how it's gonna go together, right? Okay, so to sew this together, let's ignore the C pieces for now, the outer C pieces, and break this into 3 strips. We're going to go sew these together, these together, these together, and then I'm going to press my seam allowances into the red. Wherever the red is, that's where I press my seams, and then we will sew them together into one block here. Let's go to that point, and then we'll walk through the remaining steps. Okay, so we've got our block sewn together here, our inner block. So now we're just going to repeat the same process. We'll do the middle row like this with the 2 C pieces on the outside. And then you're going to do your top row with your background pieces and a C piece. And same on the bottom. And then you'll sew them together the exact same way. And I am going to press toward my C pieces here because that's going to make it so that my seams will nest perfectly. And then we'll be done with this block and we'll go on to the accent block. All right, here we go. We're all done with our main block and it's looking great, all pressed and ready to go. Now let's move on to our accent block. And to do that, we want to grab our orange, well, no, sorry, yours won't necessarily be orange, but your little accent color here and our 2-inch background pieces. And what we want to do is we're going to sew one of these background squares onto every corner, but we want to mark the diagonal of the background pieces, just like that. And we're going to sew right on that line. So you'll repeat that for, I like to work in opposite corners because I know I'm not going to get in trouble, you know, running into the other seam. So I'll do 2 at a time. So this one and then this one, then I'll press them out and then I'm going to sew the final ones on the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and sew right on these diagonal lines to make the first half of this block. And then I'll come show you what the next step is. All right, I've got my block all sewn and pressed. I trimmed about 1/4 inch away from that seam. And now we're going to do our opposite corners here the exact same way and just sew. Here, I've got one here that has the diagonal on it already. So now we're just going to sew from here to here and do that same thing, trim the corners, press them out, and we'll have our finished block. Okay, we've got our 2 blocks set. I'm going to take you over to how I've laid out my quilt blocks according to the pattern. In the pattern, she shows us like how to lay out. This is the size that came in your box, was the throw size. So I've laid out my design there, and then we'll go through how we're gonna position those blocks. All right, you can see how I've laid out this quilt here, and just I've done it according to the pattern description. I want to talk to you about these half pieces here, the setting corners and cornerstones. So when you sew all your complete main blocks, these, you're going to have 5 left over if you lay it out according to the pattern description. Those 5 blocks you're going to cut in half, which can be a little scary, but you're going to do it and you're going to be fine. So you're going to cut them in half and make 10 half pieces. Of those 10 half pieces, take 1 half piece and cut it into quarter pieces, and that's what you're going to see here and here. And so that's going to make it so you can set your quilt perfectly, so the corners are square, rectangle, quilt, and it's going to fit together awesome. So once you've laid it all out and everything is put where it's supposed to, you can sew your rows together with your sashing strips in between. And then in between each of those rows with sashing strips, you'll have the sashing that has your little accent block that goes with those. So I will finish this quilt top and then show you how it all fits together. Okay, should we do our final reveal? Here we go. Woo-hoo-hoo! Look at that! Okay, so you can see all the great colors that we have going, and we've got them all set on point. We've got our cornerstones here, and these are deceptive, right? Because you look at it and you think, oh, that's just a square. But no, we had to do a diamond. Anyway, so I'm really happy with how the colors play together. I'm happy with the orange on the cornerstones. You would think as a ginger quilter that I would use orange more, but I don't use it that often. So it was a fun way for me to play with, you know, colors I don't always play with. And I just love how this all came together. You really can't go wrong with the color combinations, and I really had a good time putting it together. So I hope that you're either excited to put this together now or excited about the quilt that you've already made. So thanks so much for hanging out with me for the Radiate Quilt pattern tutorial by Then Came June, and thanks for being a member of the Ginger Quilter Box. I'm always so glad you guys are here, and look forward to some more video tutorials. I'm trying to put a lot more effort into video to help make the box more instructive for you guys, but also just show up and hang out with you. So you can look forward to that in coming months, and I will talk to you soon. Toodaloo!